I just bought that book. Happiness and Acceptance, Crime and Punishment, The Idiot by Dostoevsky. Even more surprisingly, human males have a strikingly larger penis than necessary for reproduction. I've accidentally gone on dates with not only a woman, but also a man. Like, what? Like, what? I didn't have anyone to listen to me, yeah. I would just talk and talk and talk and talk. I mean to tell you this story the only way I know how. That is to say, I will tell it like a river. It may meander here and there, but in the end, it will always find its way to the sea. It is like 3:14 now. All I've had is a couple bites of my leftover breakfast taco from yesterday, so I need to eat. And my grandma made potato salad yesterday, so I'm just gonna have some of that with some chips. I'm working on part 2 of my YouTube video right now. All of this is old footage. This is the sneak peek. I love this intro that I made, this one right here. Okay. Anyways, I am going to probably put on like a little show, eat some potato salad so I don't decapitate. My skin is acting up right now because I'm stressed. I'm going to do that. And oh, look at that. I don't like this out. Then I'm gonna do the book stuff. Oh, I just spilled water all over the floor. Oh, God. You're on Kevin's litter box. It smells so bad. Okay, let's get comfy. I am going to do a tour of my books. As you can see, I have a little bit of a collection of books. This is not all of my books. Some of my books are in storage with my parents. This is just some of them. Today, what I'm gonna do is look through and try to find one that I think will actually like pique my interest enough to read, because I've got this issue of like buying a bunch of books that I think I want to read and then kind of like backing out last minute. In theory, when looking at like a synopsis, it sounds super intriguing, but then when you get the information kind of like undiluted, it's a bit daunting, which is, oh my gosh, funny. One of the books, Undaunted Courage. Today, I'm gonna walk through literally every single book that I own. We're gonna read a little bit of the back of each one to see what it's about and see which one will possibly be interesting. This is gonna be very long. The first book that I have here, some of them I'm going to omit. So the first one I have is Star Trek Starfleet Technical Manual. I'm not like the biggest Trekkie, but I found it in my grandparents' barn. They let me keep it. New Yorker Book of Business Cartoons. Okay, this is a good one. I love this book. It's so funny. It's like corporate cartoons. What is it? I think page 7 has a funny one. Oh, yes, yes. This is like one of my favorite. It's The Corporate Ladder. The Corporate Ladder visualized. It starts off as office boy, clerk, chief clerk, supervisor, manager, GM, VP, then president. And it's like, okay, he's at the top, now what? Each rung he got older, now what? You throw your whole life away for work. This is gonna be like a total ramble sesh. If this is an hour long, so be it. Like, this channel is about me and finding myself. I have to have conversations with myself in order to do that. And if you want to watch, you can. If not, then whatever. But you might pick up a few things. This one was given to me by my grandpa. Both of these were actually. The first one is Raw Food Detox Diet, which something about me is I am big into holistic health, which is so funny for someone who's literally quite sedentary. Okay, you can, okay, yeah. Who does not eat that well? Like today, what did I have to eat? A few bites of the breakfast taco from LT Market, which I can never turn down. Dame un besito. Ay, gracias. And then I had leftover potato salad for both biker, but you're gonna think it's so nasty. But I had tortilla chips. You know, I've got a little mini fridge and a mini pantry, but I don't have like much food. But I had tortilla chips and I was like, okay, well, I just dipped the tortilla chips in the potato salad with some hot sauce. It was pretty good.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Anyways, my grandparents are super into that. Recently, my grandma just lost like a bunch of weight. I need to read these. He really encouraged me to, and I kind of have just been putting it off because it doesn't really tickle my strings. Ooh, the Big Book of Buds. This is obviously, you know what book this is, buddy. Yeah. ¿Qué? ¿Qué es esto? Oh my gosh, this is a card from my Annie that she gave me for my 3rd birthday. I always keep that type of thing. I love keeping a card. I'm such a little card. I will literally like sit there and read them back and be like, back when people loved me. It like goes over different strains and it talks like about the plant. I got this book in Boulder, Colorado. I was at this bookstore, really cool, quaint little bookstore. I met this girl. She was like, you seem, Kevin. That's literally the only thing that'll make her listen. So she's like, you seem so cool. Hey, niña, ven aquí, ven aquí. God, she's so bad sometimes. Like, you can't chew up my work cords. Would you go to lunch with me tomorrow? I was like, absolutely. I love meeting new people. Like, let's do it. It turns out it was a date. I did not even know that she was into me like that. And you know what is so funny is I've accidentally gone on dates with not only a woman, but also a man. Sometimes these clues just slip right over my head. After having a boyfriend, now I can definitely see them a little better. So now anytime I get those vibes, I'm like, just got out of a serious relationship. I'm not like Dr. Yeah. Anyways, next is Galileo by James Reston. Do not remember where I got this. Oh yeah, my librarian from high school gave this to me. For the last 400 years, Galileo has facilitated and inspired writers, theologians, playwrights, historians, and scientists. As the founder of modern science and the embodiment of the conflict between science and faith, Galileo remains the most fascinating figure of his age. Here, Rustin writes a lively, dramatic life of Galileo, one that not only takes us to the heart of this passionate, embattled, prickly, vain, arrogant, and brilliant man, but also paints a vivid picture of Renaissance Italy and its unparalleled cultural richness and political and religious intrigues. At the center of the story, of course, Galileo's discovery of the telescope, which revolutionized astronomy, but put him into conflict with the Catholic Church until 1633, when the Inquisition denounced him, banishing him for the last 9 years of his life. Wow, I did not even know about that. I did not even ever know he was banished. Wow. This, to be quite honest, is something that is piquing my interest a little bit. So what we're going to do is read the first 2 sentences to catch on to the writing style, because that's something I've been very picky about lately. In the summer of 1579, high in the sylvan meadows of Vallombrosa, I don't know, the young man of 15 declared his intention to become a monk. For 4 years, at an abbey famous for its discipline and charity, the monks had groomed the youth for this passionate moment of commitment. His declaration was the fulfillment of their actions. They had schooled him in Latin and Greek. I'm not turned off by this writing style. I will say that. Now I will also say, I don't know how piqued my interest was, but this is going in the maybe pile. Next, we have The Faithful Spy. This book, I was at Thundercloud with someone, and this book was on the shelf. And I picked it up and I kept it because I think it was like a free bookshelf or something. Now, there is no summary, so we're going to look it up. Oh. The novel won an Edgar Allan Poe Award for Best First Novel, blah blah blah. Tells the story of a CIA agent who has infiltrated Al-Qaeda and years after 9/11 struggles to stop a terrorist attack. Is it a true story? If it's not, then what's the point of even reading that? if I'm gonna read about that topic, I might as well pick up a history book. Wow. Well, it's a novel, but does that automatically insinuate that it's fiction? Because there are some historical fictions and whatnot. Alright, whatever. The real test is just gonna be open up the page, read a couple sentences. We'll see if we like it. Okay, present day. Okay, present day. Okay, it's fiction. Northwest frontier on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Sikh Gul scowled at his congregation. These days, every Muslim must fight jihad, he said in Pashtun, his voice rising. When the Mongols invaded Baghdad, it didn't help the people of Baghdad that they were Hoy's Muslims. They died at the swords of the infidels. The Sikh threw his hands over his head. Now Islam is under siege again, under siege in the land of the two mosques and the land of the two rivers, Saudi Arabia and Iraq. Under siege here in Pakistan, where our leader works for Americans and Jews. Everywhere we are under siege. That could be interesting. That's going in the maybe pile. That's got a little bit of to it. I feel like when you start reading it and then like when the emphasis starts coming out a little more, it's kind of like your body's way of telling you this might be like wiring our brains or whatever. This is gonna be a really long video because we're 15 minutes in and we've done like 3 books. A Brief History of Time, Stephen Hawking, great book. I have already read it, but I read it when I was very young in like high school, so I don't think I processed like any of the information and I can't tell you a single thing that's in here. Southwest boarding pass, Austin Bergstorm to Denver, from Denver to Cabo. Sam, if only I could have been in Cabo right now. Fahrenheit 451. I was talking about with my landlord and we were trying to figure out the name of the Brief History of Time. Hawking has achieved international prominence. We know. It explores the outer limits of our knowledge of astrophysics and the nature of time in the universe. A classic introduction to today's most important scientific questions about the cosmos, unique opportunity to experience the intellect of one of the most imaginative, influential thinkers of our age. Was there a beginning of time? Will there be an end? Is the universe infinite or does it have boundaries? With these fundamental questions in mind, he reviews the great theories of the cosmos and all the puzzles, paradoxes, and contradictions still unresolved. That's interesting. I don't know. Well, because when I read this, I have a ton of books quite similar to this. Scientific books. Ooh, which reminds me, there's this one guy who I would love to read. What's his name? It starts with an M. He's a physicist. He writes those really like interesting, I don't know. Well, the reason that I say this is because although this book is a great book, when I read it, I did find it to be a little bit dense. That could have been because it was like freshman year of high school or something like that. So my mind just like wasn't there. But there were a few other books that resonated with me a little bit more. So I think I do want to read this again, but I think I want to ease into it with another one. This book on quantum mechanics is really good, although I've not finished it. It's also pretty dense as well, so I won't be starting there. This one's called Quantum Mechanics, the Theoretical Minimum, What You Need to Know to Start Doing Physics. First, he taught you classical mechanics. Now Susskind has teamed up with data engineer Art Friedman. I love the name Art for a guy, to present the theory and associated mathematics of the strange world of quantum mechanics. I do like this. I've always had a slight interest in quantum mechanics, and I classify it as slight because the interest hasn't really possessed me to do much on it other than like watch some videos and read some books, but that's pretty much how all of my interests go. There's these things that pique my interest in my mind, but that's all they do. They don't really go further than that. Like trains, I love trains, literally love the things. Couldn't tell you much about them. There are some things I could tell you about them, but I couldn't really tell you much. Same thing for quantum mechanics. I love quantum mechanics. Couldn't tell you that much about it. I just absorb the knowledge and then it gets squished like right back out of me. Love philosophy, philosophic concepts. Forget a lot of them, but I feel like I'm a little philosopher in my head where I'm always just thinking, oh shit, and I'm like, do I need to think about more? No, girl, you need to take a break. Anyways, this is a good book if you're into that sort of thing. I will say, if you're trying to be into that sort of thing, don't jump into something that's so like mathy. This is Casanova. Someone bought this for me in New York City. So sweet, but yeah, I need to read it. No adequate full-length biography of Casanova has appeared in English since 1929, but during the 30 years which have since elapsed, a wealth of new material has been found in both British and continental archives. Checks out. It checks out. Yeah, little Brits. In 1960, the German firm of Brockhaus started the publication of the original text of Casanova's memoirs, which had previously been available only in truncated and adapted versions. These developments have made possible the identification of many of the men and women who people the pages of the memoirs. At the same time, a new figure of Casanova emerges himself, far more faithful and historian and more sympathetic a character than he has usually been represented, in portraying Casanova's agitated and colorful life, during the course of which he encountered almost every person of consequence of his time. That is crazy. Imagine, I had a friend, he actually recently passed away, very sad, but he lived a very long life. He died well into his 90s. He's a family friend, not just like kicking it with 90-year-olds, although I don't mind that. Anyhow, he served in World War III, and I think it was around the time of like the 75th anniversary, World War II. I was like talking to him about his experience, which he had so bad of PTSD, I didn't know that conversation like triggered some stuff for him. But anyways, he met the big three, Patton, MacArthur, and Eisenhower. Shook all of their hands. Seriously. I'm like, that's cool. But imagine being this guy and coming across everyone of significance. This could be interesting. Okay, let's see. Two world personalities have sprung from the city of lagoons, Marco Polo and Casanova, yet one will look in vain for the name of the latter in a Venetian guidebook or any least memorial to him. As Frenzy has said, the bad reputation of Casanova is due in great part to the sincerity of his confessions, which is to say that nothing is so indigestible as the truth. The truth is hard to digest, but man, I would rather have a stomach ache, okay? I do kind of jive with the writing style. I don't want to read this right now. I don't have to read this right now. Boundaries. This is a really good book to read for a lot of people. I haven't read it. I think this book was gifted to, I think I need to return this to him. Would he read it? Because I would read it. I actually gave him one of my books, and he better read that because I am going to ask for it back because I need that. It's called Ego is the Enemy. Good one. The Godfather. This one is, what is this? Happy anniversary, Sammy's. This, don't gotta explain. This book is really, really good. If you're not that into reading, you should read it. It's a little bit smutty. It's like a mob book, so what do you expect? Ooh, I'm gonna flip to a little random page and read. Tom Hagen turned away. I'll tell you one thing you didn't learn from him. Talking the way you're talking now. There are things that have to be done, and you do them, and never talk about them. Don't try to justify them. They can't be justified. You just do them. Then you forget it. Michael Corleone frowned. He said quietly, as the consigliere, you agree that it's dangerous to have the Don in our family to let Salonzo live? Yes, Hagen said. Okay, Michael said. Then I have to kill him. Yeah, little spoiler, sorry about that, but this book is good. This is a book that I love to read with someone. This is one that I really wanted to read really, really badly. I was so excited to get this one. This one was also purchased for me in New York City. It's called The Witch of Hebron by James Kunstler. I was super excited because listen to this description. It's just the writing style is a little hard for me to get super hardcore into. Already a renowned social commentator and best-selling novelist and nonfiction writer, James Kunstler has recently attained even greater prominence in the global conversation about energy and the environment. In the last 2 years, he has been the focus of a long profile in the New Yorker, the subject of a full-page essay in the New York Times Book Review, and his wildly popular blog and podcast. Okay, why does hearing the fact that an author have a podcast like give me pause? I know Brene Brown does, but anyways, Oh, this is the sequel to his best-selling novel, World Made by Hand. I did not know it was a sequel. He expands on his vision of a post-oil society with a novel, a new one about America, in which the electricity has flickered off, the internet is a distant memory, and the government is a little more than a rumor. Travel is horse-drawn, farming is back at the center of life, but it's no pastoral heaven. Wars are fought over dwindling resources, illness is a constant presence, bandit roam the countryside, preying on the weak, and a sinister cold threatens to shatter the Union Grove's fragile stability. This one I was like literally absolutely freaking stoked about. Then I spent a long time. That's usually an indication for me. Like, I think if I'm not like super into the writing style, I will read over and over and over like the first page because my brain is literally so bored that it won't process what it's saying. This is his writing style. Now, it could not have been a more beautiful mid-October day in upstate New York in the year that concerns us, which has yet to come in history. Long, jagged V's of honking Canada geese winged their way towards the Hudson River over Pumpkin Hill, where the crowns of the surfing maples blazed red and orange as if on fire, and the birch leaves glowed like golden coins, and the lines of sumacs at the edge of Denver's hayfields ran as vivid as blood against the darker margin of the woods, as though Pumpkin Hill were a living thing itself with a pulsing interior. Like, what? Like, what? Who wrote The Bear? Who's that guy? Ah, fuck. The guy who wrote The Bear. What's that guy? The one who makes super long sentences? Why is his name slipping my brain? It'll come. It'll come. It's over there. Like, it's good writing. It's good writing. He's doing good. Mind you, this is not supposed to be sold. This is like some pre-released copy or something. It's just like, I do enjoy it. Like, I'm not saying that that writing style is bad. You know what I think it was? Later on, there's a lot of dialogue. I think I'm not much for that, honestly. I like when it's, I didn't read that part, but I kind of like when it's like mental rumination. Or I'm not so much for John said, Jack said, Jane said, John said, Jack said, Jane said, John. It's like a shut up. Like, just like get your point across without the conversations. Wow. I don't know why I'm having this mood. By Divine Design by Michael Pearl. This was given to me by my grandma. This is a good one. In the Garden of the Beasts. Eric Larson. He's doing it. He has, what is it, Devil in the White City. This book, this is one of my favorites. I've read it to about like 3 separate times because this is the type of book I forget everything. This is an account of William Dodd, who was the ambassador to Berlin from America during the rise of the Third Reich. Super interesting. He's interesting, his family's interesting. It's quite unique because it is written like kind of fiction. It really does paint a good story. It's not so like regurgitated information, like too much of a biography. It's all accounts based on memoirs, documents, letters, all evidence-based for everything that's in here. And it's just a really unique perspective. It talks about the behind the scenes of how he was appointed. FDR was like scrambling to get people into that position. I highly recommend it. The Count of Monte Cristo Dumas. This one, I said that Jane Eyre was hard for me because it was 500 pages and I get so bored. This one is 1,243 pages. I don't know about that. But, so I'm not even gonna, but I did start to read this before. I've read a little bit of it and it is damn good. It is damn good. Thrown into a prison for a crime he has not committed, Edmond Dantes is refined to the grim fortress of If. There he learns of a great hoard of treasure on the island of Monte Cristo, and he becomes determined to not only escape but also to unearth the treasure and use it to plot the destruction of the 3 men responsible for his incarceration, inspired by a real-life case of wrongful imprisonment. Super interesting. If you like long books, read it. This is a fun one. Why is fun? Oh my gosh, it's not a smut book. It's like about... One of my best friends texted me and she was like, "Do you read smut?" And that's so funny. No, not really. Not because I think it's bad at all. I just never got into that. To us humans, the sex lives of many animals may seem weird, but by comparison to all other animals, our sex lives must seem even weirder. Amen. I've always been saying that. I literally thought I was asexual until like, how old am I? 22? Until 3 years ago. I thought I was asexual until 3 years ago. Yeah, because it's like alien shit. Like, especially after being in a relationship, I'm like, ugh, I can't have sex with anyone ever. I cannot do that. It's too outlandish for me right now. Too far. We are the only species to insist on having sex in private. Unlike animals that only have sex when in heat, we do it at any time, even during periods of infertility such as pregnancy or postmenopause. The human female is virtually the only mammal to go through menopause. Even more surprisingly, human males have a strikingly larger penis than necessary for reproduction. The essential reading for anyone with a desire to learn more about what makes us human. You know what? Speaking of asexuality, I'm pretty sure that I got this book in the midst of that, being like, maybe this will normalize it a bit for me. And then I read like, I don't know, a third of it, and I was like, don't think so. Don't think so. Ooh, The Lost Apothecary. This was given to me by my mother. She was trying to get rid of some books. And it's about like this apothecary worker who helps women kill their evil husbands, and something kind of like goes awry. Haven't read it. Where the Crawdads Sing. I have not read this. I don't think I'm going to read it. One of my friends, Summer, said that it was like good, but you know, for some years rumors of Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town in North Carolina. When handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately expect Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl, but Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home. I need something that's gonna make me think. I'm trying to be on like this introspective journey of like self-discovery, and I don't think I'm gonna get that reading that book. Life of Pi, really good. I read this one already. Ooh, I stole this book from someone. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I don't know, that one feels a little manipulative for me. ¿Qué más? Ooh, Confessions of a Sociopath. What? We are your neighbors, your coworkers, and quite possibly the people closest to you. Lovers, family, friends. Our risk-seeking behavior, in general fearlessness, our thrilling, our glibness and charm alluring, our often quick wit and outside-of-the-box thinking make us appear intelligent, even brilliant. We climb the corporate ladder faster than the rest and appear to have limitless self-confidence. Who are we? We are highly successful, non-criminal sociopaths, and we comprise 4% of the American population. Takes readers on a journey into the mind of a sociopath, revealing what makes them tick while debunking myths. I think I could have met some sociopaths in my time. I think so. Ready? I'm gonna do a speed read really quick. If my life were a television show, it would start like this. It's pleasantly warm summer day in a beautiful southern clime. Sunlight glints off ripples in the pool. The sliding door opens with a gentle rumble. A young woman steps out in her flip-flops and black Speedo swimming suit. Her dark hair hits just below muscular swimmer's shoulders. Her skin is darkly tanned from lifeguarding at the local municipal pool. She is neither pretty nor ugly, of medium build with no prominent features. She does not appear to have any feelings about her body, good or bad. She is used to being near naked the way most athletes are. Today, she is giving private swim lessons. She flings a towel on the deck of her chair and kicks off her sandals. There's a casual recklessness about the way that she does things, as if letting loose wayward objects into the world with abandon. That's when she notices the ripples on the surface of the water. She sees that there is something moving in the pool. It is so small that she doesn't recognize it until she's close. A baby pond. possum, probably just a week old, its tiny pink paws frantically paddling, its even tinier pink nose struggling above the surface of the water. The poor thing must have fallen into the pool in the night. It is too little to thrust its tiny body up and over the nearest ledge. The baby's muscles quake with exhaustion. Even its tiny sparkling eyes looks tired. It is on the brink of succumbing to fatigue. Ooh, okay, I know this part, so I'm gonna finish this part. The young woman moves quickly, sliding her sandals back on, and pauses for a moment at the top of the deck. She grabs a net and heads towards the possum. The camera cuts in as the net lowers, dipping into the surface of the water, catching the baby possum under the belly just in front of its hind legs. With a quick, almost effortless movement, the net drags the opossum under the surface until its head is fully submerged. The animal thrashes, its tired body now alert to a new threat. It struggles loudly, whimpering and squealing until it finally manages to free its hindquarters from the lip of the net, but it's barely able to grasp a breath before the net comes down again. The angle of the net is awkward though, and the animal is able to writhe out of its trap. The young woman sighs, and the net is lifted. I'm like, tell me you haven't met someone who you think has probably done that. I grew up in Texas. I know some sociopaths. I probably know some a little too well. TBH. This is Philosophy, an Introduction. This I found in my grandparents' barn. I think it's just your run-of-the-mill intro philosophy book. It is very difficult to give a satisfactory formal definition of philosophy, for philosophy is like those other great human enterprises of ideal society, art, science, and religion. Every definition turns out to be the expression of an individual and limited conception, reflecting the practice of that enterprise in the definer's own culture and shutting out as much as it includes. That's interesting. I kind of just talked about that in life group yesterday. They were trying to talk about certain notions or qualities. One of them was identity. I was like, I don't really think you could say your identity is soccer. I don't really think you can say that. I feel like personally for me, it's something that cannot exactly be put into words. It's something that can only be perceived. If you're around someone for long enough, you can pretty much get a grasp of who their identity is. As long as you are trying to be you, someone that you could be proud of, if you're just trying to do your best to be a good person and be a positive impact for those around you, but not give away too much of yourself, but show up in the ways that you need to show up, things will fall into place. That'll be your identity. I don't think you need to associate your identity with any one thing because things come and go. Unfortunately, put your identity in a relationship, it'll end. Put your identity in soccer, you'll break your leg, bro. You never fucking know. I'm like, I don't have anything. Anyways. The Jungle, Upton Sinclair, great book. I don't really think this needs an introduction. I'm pretty sure they go over this book in history class, so I'm sure a lot of you probably have heard of it before. If you haven't, no worries. No worries. It's by Sinclair, who was a yellow journalist. He was a muckraker. He kind of firsthand immersed himself into the things he was writing about. He was in the Chicago meatpacking industry, I think in the 17th century. I believe that he was really trying to display the plight of the proletarian immigrant at the time. And I think more so it came across the way that food was being produced. And I mean, this book literally is the reason why the FDA exists. I think that's really cool to be able to make that profound of an impact. But it's funny, he said that I aimed to hit the public's hearts and I hit their stomachs. This one's a really good one. Carlo Rovelli, The Order of Time. This one does a great job of really good at explaining time in a very basic way. Don't get me wrong, it is dense. Sometimes you have to reread, sometimes you have to think about it for a sec, but it's more common sense as opposed to mathematically based explanation of time, the way it works, the way it moves, everything about it. Let's open to this random page and read a little bit of it. It only takes a few micrograms of LSD to expand our experience of time onto an epic and magical scale. How long is forever, asks Alice, Sometimes just 1 second, replies the white rabbit. There are dreams lasting an instant, in which everything seems frozen for an eternity. Time is elastic in our personal experience of it. Hours fly by like minutes, and minutes are oppressively slow as if they were centuries. How the devil did we get in our heads that time passes everywhere at the same speed? It was certainly not our direct experience of the passage of time that gave us the idea that time elapses at the same rate always and everywhere, so where did we get it from? You can kind of get the gist of it there. That's pretty easily digestible. Fine, I'll add that. I'll add that too. Pull my leg, why don't you? Ooh, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. This is a good book. This is a really quick book to read. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Astrophysics is something that I've always been interested in as well, but again, never did much about it. Oh, let's read a little bit of it to see if I want to read it. Many natural phenomena manifest multiple physical laws operating at once. This fact often complicates the analysis and, in most cases, requires high-performance computing to calculate what's going on and keep track of important parameters. When comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 plugged into Jupiter's gas-rich atmosphere in July 1994 and then exploded, the most accurate computer model combined the laws of fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, kinematics, and gravitation. Climate and weather represent the other leading examples and complicated and difficult to predict phenomena. The basic laws governing them are still at work. Jupiter's great red spot, a raging anticyclone that has been going strong for at least 350 years, is driven by identical processes that generate storms on Earth and elsewhere in the solar system. Another class of universal truths is the conservation laws, where the amount of some measured quantity remains unchanged no matter what. The three most important are the conservation of mass and energy, the conservation of linear and angular momentum, and the conservation of electrical charge. These energies are in evidence of Earth and everywhere we have thought to look, from the domain of particle physics to the large-scale structure of the universe. Good! He's so good at describing things basically. I love looking at people's book collections because it's like you're looking in my brain right now. You're looking in my brain, and everything on this shelf is something that at one point or another piqued my interest. And I think it is so epic to be able to look at something physical, to be able to look at someone's bookshelf and be like, that's who they are. I mean, obviously it's not who they are, but there's little pieces of me in all of these. I think that's so cool and kind of like profound. And you can say the same about anything, clothes, trash, whatever, but this I think is particularly interesting because this takes time, which we don't have a lot of. To choose to spend money on buying them, time on reading them, I think it's an interesting thing. Put that away. This is good. Ethics 101. Oh my god! That is the book that I have been missing. Ayn Rand, The Virtue of Selfishness. Where did I put it? Where did it go? I wonder if I let someone borrow it. Anyways, Ethics 101, from altruism and utilitarianism to bioethics and political ethics, an exploration of the concepts of right and wrong. In hedonism, pleasure is the only thing intrinsically valuable to a person at all times, and pain is the only thing that is intrinsically not valuable to an individual. I don't really align too much with hedonism. In utilitarianism, morality is always based on the results that arise as the outcome of an action and never based on the actual action. I don't know, because stupidity exists, but stupidity is technically willful ignorance, but then again, intention and stupidity, there's a lot of wiggle room between that. I don't know. That's why ethics is so interesting. Shall we open up and read a little bit? Who wrote this? It says, thank you for being amazing. Who wrote me that? Who wrote me that? Come back. Come back in my life. I need you. Happiness and acceptance. Amen. Going through that right now. Not happiness, but Kevin, do you want me to read you? Stoicism was a tremendously popular philosophy in Hellenistic times, rivaled by its almost opposite, Epicureanism. At the center of Stoicism was the idea that the universe is by nature fatalistic. Therefore, the best that humans can do in terms of the pursuit of happiness is just to accept it and resign themselves to this fate, no matter what that individual fate may be. It's depressing for sure, but there's also a freedom in this idea to admit that there is nothing to be done about the things that one cannot change. I opened this to a random page and what did I just say earlier? What did I just say? What did I just say? Tell me what I just said. Because it was literally that. See, you can tell I've read these books. You're in my brain. Okay, it's depressing for sure, but there's also freedom in this idea to admit that there is nothing that can be done about things that one cannot change. Again, things that one cannot change, which is literally everything outside of our individual selves. If you can't change things, then it would be futile to try, and you would be much happier not doing so. The notion of free will enters into this philosophy because while we are predestined to do whatever it is that we do, we have the choice whether or not to accept this fate. In other words, we can choose to be happy or not. Love that one. Love that one. Okay, Philosophy 101. Types of utilitarianism. While there are many types of utilitarianism, the most well-known forms are act utilitarianism and rule utilitarianism. No matter the type of utilitarianism, neither form appears to require an absolute ban on lying, cheating, or stealing. Indeed, utilitarianism seems at times to require that we lie, cheat, or steal, so long as it is the route by which maximum happiness is achieved, though according to that rule of utilitarianism, activities like lying, cheating, and stealing would undermine the trust upon which human society is founded, and any rule which permits these actions cannot maximize utility if it is universally adopted. Yeah, I love ethics. I like philosophy and I love ethics and they're very interconnected, but I don't believe in lying. I don't believe in cheating. If you need to steal, steal from the right person. But lying and cheating, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. No. Not in my book. Not in my book. Because life is the truth. This is real. This is not a lie. This life is real. This life is not a lie. In that sense, it could very well be a lie in many other senses, but in this one, we live this life every day. It is real. Do not lie to yourself. Do not lie to others. Just take the right path and you'll be fine. Why you gotta lie? What you gotta lie for? This life is short. Lie enough, you'll start lying to yourself. You won't even realize it. You'll be on your deathbed and you'll be like, who am I? Why don't you know who you are? Maybe because you've never told yourself the truth. I used to do that when I was younger. People from, traumatic childhoods do that. When I was younger, I would lie all the time because I wanted to put on the perfect, most best version of myself so that I would be received well, so that I would be, perceived as a good person or whatever. And it's that's selfish. If you want to be a good person, be a good person. Don't go around lying because then it's how old was I? I was grown up and then all of a sudden I sit back and I'm wait a second, who am I? Literally, who am I? And then I spiraled into a dark depression because it's I had this lack of identity within myself because all of my identity was a lie. Because I was trying to associate myself with things instead of being true to myself. I was trying to associate myself with whatever version of myself that I thought that I needed to put out there in order to receive validation, i.e. selfishness, and I wasn't focusing on just genuinely following the path of being someone that was a good person, someone who always does the right thing even when it's hard, someone who doesn't lie, someone who doesn't cheat, someone who doesn't mislead, someone who just does what they think is right, even to the people that they don't want to do it to, and they just live their life day to day, giving whatever percent of effort that they have available that day. That is how you find your identity. If you go off lying about who you are, what you're doing, things that you are feeling, if you lie enough, in fact, I believe if you lie even a little bit consistently, you will lose yourself 150%. Right, Kevin? Right. Because what do you have? What do you have that's real? Identity cannot be found through association. It can only be found through the truth and living and seeing and breathing. You're not going to know who you are if you've lied to everyone, including yourself, about who that person is. It's taken me this many years to come back and unlearn all of the bad things that I learned. Growing up, start out as pure, then you go through all of this traumatic bull, and it's oh, who have I become? What are all of these qualities that I've picked up and that I've learned over the years? Strip them away one by one, strip them away, get sad, get depressed, go through all this stuff. But you have to strip it all down and just revert back to who you were. Just be free to be you, be entirely you, be unapologetically yourself in the best way, only the best version of yourself. You can only be unapologetically yourself if you are putting on the absolute best version of yourself, someone that you would die happy to be. Yeah, then things will just work out. That's the only way. Anyways, Discipline is Destiny, Ryan Holiday. I met this guy, read a little bit of it. This book was given to me by my dad for Christmas. To master anything, we must first master ourselves, our emotions, our thoughts, our actions. It's an ancient idea, more urgent than ever in our distracted, tempting, and chaotic world. Eisenhower famously said that freedom is the opportunity to practice self-discipline. Cicero called the virtue of temperance the polish of life. Without boundaries and restraint, we risk not only failing to meet our full potential and jeopardizing what we have achieved, but ensuring a lifetime of misery and shame. Yes, yes. Let's put this right here. Let's put that right here. The Four Agreements, very good book. Good book. Good book. Never finished it. Jane Eyre, we just read her. We didn't read her. What successful people know about leadership? Yeah. That's a good one. Now we have all of these. Undaunted Courage. I believe this is about the Lewis and Clark expedition. Yup. Lo siento. This is one of my grandpa's favorite books. The 100 Years War on Palestine. I just bought this book. I just bought that book. Dante Inferno. I also just bought that book, but you know what? I'm not really in the mood to read it right now. Never Let Me Go. Kazu Ishiguro. It's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be a little sad. And you know what? I really did want to read it, but as much as I do, I think I need to put it here for a little bit. When it calls my name, I'll come to it. The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. I got this after my breakup because, you know, I'm learning to become the best version of myself in all of the ways that I know how, but I don't have like a stable viewpoint of a healthy relationship to kind of like look on, nor have I really experienced like an equally yoked love that's healthy and kind and loving, an unconditional love, you know, a consistent love. And so I was like, well, if I'm trying to make myself a better person, I might as well learn how to be better for a partner specifically. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. We've pretty much gone through all of the books. I have also purchased these lately. Crime and Punishment, The Idiot by Dostoevsky, Inferno, but I can do like a little, this is a new, ¿qué quieres? ¿Quieres afuera? Oh, again. This is called A Newfound Land. I mean to tell you this story the only way I know how. That is to say, I will tell it like a river. It may meander here and there, but in the end will always find its way to the sea. That is how I tell stories. My friend Kenyon is like, whenever we were talking in Spain, I'm a yapper, and anyone who will let me talk, I'm like, I wedge my way in there. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué quieres? I was like, anytime anyone would like listen to me talk, I mean, I take advantage of that because at the time I didn't have anyone to listen to me yap. I still don't have anyone to listen to me yap. That's why I'm yapping to you. I would just talk and talk and talk and talk. And one time he was like, it's not that the stories that you're telling are bad. It's like you say every tiny little detail, like things that I don't care about. He didn't mean it in a mean way. That's just like how he is. That's how he communicates. I don't take it personally, but maybe a little. I was like, I really do that. But I think it's because that's the way that I like stories to be told. Not so much like extraneous, nonsensical information, but more so I want to be able to comprehend every little crevice from what you crawled out of to arrive here. I want to understand it fully. Kevin never wants to go outside. All of a sudden she's like all about that life. Let's go see what she's doing. ¿Qué haces? ¿Qué estás haciendo? ¿Dónde vas, mija? What are you doing? You want to go inside? Wow, that was so brave of you. Good girl. Anyways, so we have all of our books, and I'm going to put these back on the shelf, and I'm going to bring those to my room, and then we're going to sift through them a little bit and maybe read a little bit of one. Ooh, have a little reading sesh. Ooh. Okay, after we had gone through literally that whole pile, I was just like not feeling any of that. Ooh, Faulkner, the bear. Faulkner. Dang it. I let her outside once and now she's like a little hoe for it or whatever. I hope she doesn't like feel something out there. We'd gone through like that whole book pile and I looked at my book stack and I was like, none of these are calling my name right now. So I came to this one, My Name is Red. I've wanted to read it for a while because it's set in 16th century Istanbul. My Name is Red by Orhan Pamuk. Ooh, powerful chapter name. It's a little bit of a mess in here. Chapter 1, I am a corpse. I am nothing but a corpse now. My body, let's shut the door because this bitch cannot shut up. I am nothing but a corpse now, my body at the bottom of a well. Though I drew my last breath long ago and my heart has stopped beating, no one apart from that vile murderer knows what's happened to me. As for that wretch, he felt for my pulse and listened for my breath to be sure I was dead, then kicked me in the midriff, carried me to the edge of the well, raised me up and dropped me below. As I fell, my head, which he'd smashed with a stone, broke apart. My face, my forehead and cheeks were crushed, my bones shattered, and my mouth filled with blood. For nearly 4 days I've been missing. My wife and children must be searching for me. My daughters, spent from crying, must be fretfully at the courtyard gate. Yes, I know they're all at the window, hoping for my return, but are they truly waiting? I can't even be sure of that. Maybe they've gotten used to my absence. How dismal. For here on the other side, one gets the feeling that one's former life persists. But before my birth, there was infinite time, and after my death, inexhaustible time. I never thought of it before. I'd be living luminously between 2 eternities of darkness. I like the way he writes. I was happy. I know now I'd been happy. I made the best illuminations in our Sultan's workshop. No one could rival my mastery. Through the work I did privately, I earned 900 silver coins a month, which naturally only makes all of this even harder to bear. I was responsible for painting and embellishing books. I illuminated the edges of pages, coloring their borders with the most lifelike designs of leaves, branches, roses, flowers, and birds. I painted scalloped Chinese-style clouds, clusters of overlapping vines and forests of color that had hid gazelles, gilets, sultans, trees, palaces, horses, and hunters. In my youth, I would decorate a plate, or the back of a mirror, or a chest, or at times the ceiling of a mansion or of a Bosphorus manor, or even a wooden spoon. In later years, however, I only worked on manuscript pages because our Sultan paid well for them. I can't say it seems insignificant now. You know the value of money even when you're dead. How sad is that? After hearing the miracle of my voice, you might think, who cares what you've earned when you were alive? Tell us what you see. Is there life after death? Where's your soul? What about heaven and hell? What's death like? Are you in pain? You're right. The living are extremely curious about this afterlife. Maybe you've heard the story of a man who was so driven by his curiosity that he roamed among soldiers in the battlefield. He sought a man who died and returned to life amid the wounded, struggling for their lives in pools of blood. A soldier who could tell him about the secrets of the other world. But one of the Tamerlane warriors, taking the secret for the enemy, cleaved him in half with a smooth stroke of his scimitar, causing him to conclude that in the hereafter man gets split in 2. Nonsense. Quite the opposite. I'd even say that souls divide in life, merge in the hereafter. Contrary to the claims of sinful infidels who've fallen under the sway of the devil, there is indeed another world. Thank God. And the proof is that I'm speaking to you from here. I've died, but as you can plainly tell, I haven't ceased to be. Granted, I must confess I haven't encountered the rivers flowing beside the silver and gold kiosks of heaven, the broad-leaved trees bearing plump fruit, and the beautiful virgins mentioned in the glorious Quran, though I do very well recall how often and enthusiastically I made pictures of those wide-eyed horrors described in the chapter That Which is Coming. Nor is there a trace of those rivers of milk, wine, fresh water, and honey described with such flourish, not in the Quran, but by visionary dreamers like Ibn Arabi. Like, what is... My phone's ringing, but I'm like, where is it? Oh. I have to go to dinner with my landlord and my roommate and my best friend's parents. I am going to go eat a baked potato, but we'll leave off there for now, and if we want to continue, we can, but in case we don't, thank you for entertaining my little book session and my little day. If you're having a hard time reading, maybe just film yourself on camera reading or something. I don't know. But yeah, if you are looking for anything specifically in your life or any sort of answers, or you're confused on your identity or who you are or anything like that, just take the time to look inward, and you're gonna find a lot of hard spots, and you're gonna come to a lot of crappy places. Like, oh, the places you'll go, you know, you'll get to some bang-ups and hang-ups, and you'll get to waiting places and wherever else, but everything will work out with time. Just try to stay true to yourself. Try to be honest with yourself. Things will work out. Things will work out. Have conversations with yourself, and sometimes they're hard conversations, but they're worth it. But anyways, this is supposed to be an exit, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, thanks for looking through my books with me. Have a nice night. I'm gonna go watch Hellboy and eat a baked potato.